Regardless of your station in life, we all come here as people who are grieving and processing through whatever medium that we choose to offer a creative expression of pain and hope. Sacred space, here we go. These pieces, they tell their story. It's the voices of the people. People are laying a part of themselves at this memorial.
Janelle Austin manages the memorial at George Floyd Square, the intersection where Floyd was killed. It's part tribute and part call to action, to stop things like this from happening over and over again, something that often feels impossible.
Race supersedes politics in this country. It adapts from one generation to the next. It mutates, it spreads. It's like a force that takes the path of least resistance. And so you put up a policy, it says, okay, well, I'll go this way, and I'll go that way. This is a life or death situation for Black America. This is a state of emergency.
The conviction of Derek Chauvin is a step in the right direction, but real change will require much more. Last year, activists here released a list of demands, calling for more investment in community initiatives like funding for Black-owned businesses. And they asked for a number of reforms to policing, including an independent office to investigate cops and an end to qualified immunity.
Has the city council, has the mayor, have they done what they need to do?
No. This is not just a standoff with the city, just a standoff. We're too old for that. We're grown. We're too educated for that.
What do you want policing to look like in the future?
I want to imagine a world beyond policing. We take what has historically been outsourced to police in terms of community, and we're reclaiming it, and we're saying, how do we figure it out for ourselves? Rather than calling 911, are there other resources that we can call that will actually address the same issue, probably even better? And, and technically, that's kind of how you defund the police, so it's supply and demand.
At one point, it did look like meaningful change was coming. In the weeks after Floyd's death, members of the Minneapolis City Council made bold headlines, promising that they would dismantle the entire police department, or at least significantly slash its budget. A year later, none of that has happened. Steve Fletcher was among those making big claims.
Did the city council screw up last year? Did you guys go too far in your promises in the beginning?
I don't think so. So look, I think that we are in a moment that is calling on us to make significant change. And you cannot make significant change without declaring a vision for that change.
Because you did that, right?
We
you
did.
said, and you personally said at the
did.
beginning, we have to dismantle the department.
Yeah.
It feels to people in the city who are critics of this department and critics of you in particular, they say, well, you made these promises and then you didn't follow through. You walked away from it.
Nobody's walked away from anything. I mean, I think if you look at the work that I'm doing, it's consistent with that goal. There are people who want more police in this city. There are people who are averse to change, and they'll prioritize the police presence, even the flawed police presence that we have, because they still believe it's the solution to the crime that we're experiencing. Even as we see significant evidence that it's not that effective as a solution for that.
Is it possible that just with the officers you have and the system you have, you just can't make little changes that will be enough?
That's why we're talking about big structural changes. We're seeing blatant disregard for policies in many cases.
Fletcher plans to introduce another version of his reform plan this year. It would move the police under a new Department of Public Safety, controlled by the city council. It could go before voters in November. In the meantime, the killings keep happening. As we were preparing to travel to Minneapolis to report this story, a 20-year-old black man named Dante Wright was shot and killed by a cop in Brooklyn Center, just outside of town.
Because now all of a sudden we can accidentally kill people. We're not intentionally killing nobody. We don't accidentally kill some folks. We don't let it off like that.
What y'all doing? His hands on his gun, he's
Minneapolis community organizers like Cynthia Jackson say the issues with policing won't be solved with superficial changes.
Every system in this country is rooted and grounded in the precepts of white supremacy. White boys aren't considered men at the age of 12. We have 5-year-old African-American children being handcuffed at school. 10-year-old girls being body slammed by full-grown men. You know, those conditions lead to the hopelessness and the anger, which is righteous. Like, you're not gonna tell me I don't have the right to be angry. I'm angry. Police don't enforce law. Hell, they make up law.
Last year, Jackson was tapped to lead a newly revived police oversight commission. But she quickly learned the police wouldn't let them have access to any non-public disciplinary records.
I think that's an unreasonable expectation to place upon the Oversight Commission to conduct oversight if we don't have access to all the materials we need to do that.
When you see the city council and city officials talking about the various things they want to do to reform policing here, do you feel like it can really bring about the change that you think is necessary?
I think that there's been a lot of work put in to a new imagining of public safety, but like just changing it, just moving it from one area of the city to the next, that's just changing costumes.
Why do you say that?
I think that policing needs to be civilian run. Oversight, management, everything. And low income neighborhoods, policing is very controlling, very authoritative, very violent. It's a brick wall, and they slam you into it. You know, and it especially if you're black, it doesn't matter what you do, what they say you've done, or whether you comply. There's a huge gap between experiencing policing that way and the way some other communities experience policing.
What would happen if things don't change?
More of what we're seeing now, only escalated. I mean, you can only kick a dog so many times before it bites you. And it ain't the dog's problem, you know?
Tell me about the Oversight Commission. What are you hoping to do?
I am hoping to make a change in some legislation surrounding the Data Privacy Act that protects bad cops. There's some little loopholes in some policies that prevent the public, even the commission, from having access to these records.
You're the chair of the Police
An Oversight Commission, yeah.
But you're not
but
really
we can't
able
really
to
do
see,
oversight.
Yeah, you can't really see what the police are up to.
Well, we can see some things, but they keep a large portion of it away from us. We have little hints of it, you know, but when we see coaching and we want those records, no, we can't have it. They're protected by the privacy data because it's not considered discipline. Discipline records are public, but coaching, this little loophole they have, isn't discipline.
And coaching is often what they do instead of discipline, is that the idea?
I mean, you know, I don't know the exact numbers, but 90% of the time, I've just been asking for information. How many officers in you know, divided up by precinct? How many officers? How many coaching resolutions? How many were for the same thing? And I can't have that information.
Wow, so you're not asking for specific names, you're just asking for general information.
Right.
Does that tell you they're not that serious about letting you do this job?
Yes. That's like in direct opposition to who I am.
What is it going to take to really change the way policing happens in Minneapolis?
I think the black community needs to have strong voices and not necessarily the ones that are getting heard. I mean, it's almost like we need to sit down and have a summit in every black community across the nation. And we need to decide what we want as policing. I mean, that's what the white people did when they made the shit. They decided what they wanted.